Hello, everybody, and welcome to Seeds of Liberty podcast, episode 44. So we're going to go with Jeremy for the Bibcot NoGov license.
Yes, as always, the Seeds of Liberty podcast is covered by the Bipcot No Government License. This allows for reuse by anyone except for governments and the agents thereof. You can find out more information about this at bipcot.org.
So today we have Jared Howe, also known as JerryOne, the voluntarist, anarchist, conscious rapper. You can find his work on SoundCloud, YouTube, and Facebook, JerryOne, as JerryOne. So we're thinking about talking about maybe, since we talk about video games and maybe the violence inherent in video games, and does that affect people? Does that make people misconstrue reality with fictional worlds?
I mean, I've played my fair share of military video games. Rainbow Six. I used to play Rainbow Six. I played Counter-Strike. I was semi-pro in that. Semi-pro at Halo 2. I don't think it makes you violent. I think it gives you an escape for maybe some violence you may have. But I don't think. I mean, there's always going to be the nut job, right? There's always going to be the exception to the rule.
Further. It's like cathartic sometimes. I mean, maybe not Call of Duty, but for me to play a game where I kill a bunch of zombies, I mean, I don't know, I feel better afterwards.
Well, no, I mean, like, the only thing that my shooting games have, like, ever taught me is, like, how to properly angle yourself in gunfights. So many people don't realize that gunfights majority of it is angles. So.
Well, I mean, there's teamwork and stuff like that if you play in communities and just,
of course, yeah, there's team where I used to play 12 hours a day. Counter-Strike, yeah, for sure.
I mean, that might be a little excessive, I think.
I was trying to go pro, so
well,
real world caught up. So I was not the best, but I played against the very best. So.
I mean, this comes up every once in a while, in the mainstream with the calls for stricter regulations and everything against these games, because there is a faction that believes that they cause violence in people. But I mean, for me, it's like, like you guys are saying, I use them throughout my life as an outlet, whether it be just an escape from my current reality that I was not happy with, or even just something for frustration, like something like you said, Jared, about like a zombie game where you're just killing something.
Fundamentally, what's the difference between Call of Duty and something like watching the NFL?
Seriously, or watching The Walking Dead, or watching a war movie, Saving Private Ryan.
I would say.
I mean, it does glorify war. We're not saying that it doesn't.
Well, that's a separate issue that I would like to get into.
Okay, it's instead of like Call of Duty, like Halo or something.
That's the angle. That's the angle I was trying to stick to. That's why I was saying the war angle I would take separately. But I think there can be a case to be made that there is a difference between those things, because watching, say, the NFL or watching any of these other things, it's completely passive, versus you actually playing the game. You're actually taking more of an active role in it. So I can see. I'm not saying there people that make that case are 100% right, but I could see where that.
Me think.
I mean, Activision.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you this much: Blizzard Activision has. They get paid by the DoD for all their war video games. That exists. Like that happens.
Again, but that's a separate issue, though. What I'm saying is just from the aspect of
passive versus passive perception versus like active participation.
So I
think the argument I would make, and I don't think anybody who is like an enthusiast of sports would make this argument, but I think the argument I would make is that some people get so into it that they actually believe that they're on the team, or that they're part of a team, or that they're doing something.
I would agree. I would agree. Yes. I would definitely agree with that.
Well, another thing that pissed me off.
Fantasy sports are kind of a symptom of that, right?
Yeah, another thing that pissed me off was after the
sports player, so I can.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, for sure. It pissed me off about like the Columbine shootings. They were like throwing, they play Doom. I was like, who the fuck didn't own Doom? I think Doom was the #1 video game in sold copies for like 12 years. Like it didn't get replaced until I think World of Warcraft came out. Like that was the most like, yeah. So like, are you kidding me? And World of Warcraft, they were making what, like $14 million a month at one time.
But that's no,
it was 68 million a month. I was like,
well, those situations like where something happens, that's just automatics. Everybody always wants to blame something else other than whatever the actual cause is. They just
there were some crazy motherfuckers over here with guns.
Video games being escapism, but like people blaming the violence of others on video games, that's in itself just kind of ignoring reality, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Because playing Doom doesn't glorify the state. That's why they want it gone.
Well,
that's why they want it censored. That's why they only want like certain people that have already, their indoctrination has been complete, you know.
Well, I haven't seen.
We need to make sure only 18 years or older play this video game. Are you kidding me? Doom, you're running around blowing up demons. Ooh, so scary, and it looks so bad now. Like if it's still rated M, like I'm laughing.
The other thing is, I mean, there's some of these other games, Fallout 4, a new one, where, and I think even Fallout 4 is the first one in the series that I've played, but my understanding is that even in previous iterations that players of this game would try to figure out a way to complete the main storylines without killing anybody, and it's been done. So there's voluntarist approaches to some of these games where
there's people that play like Mario and stuff in speedrunning, and it's like killing people only slows you down. So it's like run past them. If they're slower, Mario, run past them.
But I mean, we're in the sense of like talking about video games being related to an increase or some effect of violence or the behavior of individuals. I mean, like comparing Fallout to Mario, Fallout's a lot closer to looking like, you know, real life in the sense, or at least like the character models are for the humans. So it's easier to trick your brain that you actually are in the game, or that you actually are one of the characters, and the potential to kill things does really exist. Hell, the potential to kill just random companion characters exists, but some people decide to play these games and they don't kill anybody at all.
I'll tell you this much, Jared. The amount of like fake people or digital people that I've killed in video games would put me on like a list that is like infamous. Like my name would be known 1,000 years from now. So, and I've killed 0 people in my life so far, like by accident or any way. Like I've killed no one. So like obviously I know that's anecdotal evidence, but I was gonna say that's video games have not increased my violence. If anything, they've given me an outlet for any kind of violence I may have.
See, I don't know. I mean, I obviously agree. I've always been against this argument, even when I was, you know, the first time around that I remember this occurring. You know, like I said, because I remember when Columbine happened. I remember there was an incident before that, a major incident before that too. I forget which one it was. But the same thing happened with Grand Theft Auto at one point too. I think that was another one that got blamed for stuff. You know, so like. I've seen this happen over and over and over again, and even before I became an anarchist, I was always against this type of thing just because I thought it was insane to even consider. But again, at that point, I was taking it just from my own anecdotal evidence and saying, well, I've never become any more hostile, and I've played all these crazy games, so well, that has to be silly. But now that I've gotten, older, I can look back on it, and I still play games from time to time. I could see how somebody, again, I'm trying to play devil's advocate, I guess, here. I could see how somebody could make the case that it could increase.
I mean, it does desensitize you, for sure.
Oh, no, yes. And that also is going to get into the war, the whole glorifying of war discussion. We can get into that, too. But for this point, I could see how it would.
But I think the internet is like the king desensitizer these days.
Yeah, but and media, mainstream media in general too, but I could see the case being made that it could intensify certain thoughts in somebody who is already emotionally disturbed, or somebody who already is a sociopath.
Okay,
sure, I could see that case, but
the argument for that is like, isn't that like to blame the video game? Isn't that throwing the baby out with the bathwater?
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I could see the case being made.
I mean, anything could set a schizophrenic off or something. You know, like
there
anything.
You go. So it's not. It's one of these. As always, one of these one-size-fits-all approaches that it's just like, well, because there runs the possibility of this X percentage of the population reacting in this particular way to this particular thing, that it must be taken away or made harder to obtain for everybody in the specific demographic.
There was a video game
just
I
to
played
prevent
not
the
too long ago.
possibility. You know, it's
And
like,
that's the thing, is you never hear the discussion. This discussion never comes up through like a media outlet or some study without the mention of some regulation over, content or censorship or something like that. And I think it's effective. I think video game companies have commented on it. Japanese video game companies openly complain, and it's to the point where they won't even localize games for America because the political correctness and the regulation standards for the rating industry are so tough that it's not cost effective. So in effect, people in America end up missing out on what could be really good gaming content.
Well,
Yeah,
for sure.
The way I look at it is like it's like another tool. Like somebody shoots somebody, they blame the gun, right? Like or somebody does drugs, and is a criminal, so they blame drugs maybe. So somebody kills somebody and also loves video
Yeah.
games. You're gonna blame the video game.
It's like
'cause it's just
blaming
another
Marilyn
tool.
Manson. The Columbine thing. What did they also blame Marilyn Manson or something like that? Like,
yeah, exactly. It was
blaming
anything
the
and
fact,
everything.
blame the fact that these kids were probably beat by their parents. How about let's start there and see what happened from that point on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they
but
were all
like
what,
the idea
radical
that-
atheists as well.
I like the idea that it's a form of escape. It's like
Yeah.
what are they escaping from? I think that's
Right.
more the
Well, it-
important question.
Exactly. I mean, I said it earlier that I used it as a form of escape when I was at certain points in
for
my
sure.
life. I used not and in two different ways. Sometimes it was just to escape reality, to have some fun. Other times it was because I was upset or whatever. Like there was things, and it was a release for me. It was able. I was frustrated. I was angry, and so it can be used for that. But again, just because it negatively it could again, and we have to say possibly, because there's this. It's a correlation, not causation thing. But
I think
too
there's
many people want to make it.
completely innocuous uses to it too. And I'm sorry for interrupting,
No, it's
but
okay.
some people play like maybe an hour a day or an hour every other day or every few days, an hour a week. How is that fundamentally different than any other pastime?
Yeah, exactly. And all those people out there, and that's the thing, because a lot of the same people who make the argument that it makes people violent, it increases violence, yada yada yada. These are the same. Most of these same people have no recognition that it's not just these stereotypical angsty teenagers that play these games. I mean, again, anecdotal evidence.
Yeah,
but-
this is a $1 billion industry.
Exactly, but in my
Multiple
experience-
billions.
Yeah, but in my experience, I've come across these people, and when I've tried to engage them in conversation, is the ones I've come in contact with honestly believe that it's only teenagers and maybe 20-year-old druggies with no life. Like that's the way they put it. That play
That's
video
bigoted,
games.
isn't it?
It's absolutely
judging it-
bigoted. It's
Judging
absolutely.
everybody who plays bigoted off of like just a few people who play video games.
But yes, but it's also a horrible generalization and an assumption, because they're basing they assume that's everybody. They have no idea that there's 30, 40, 50-year-old people. I know 60 and 70-year-olds who still play.
Oh
you
man,
know,
like the Grand Theft Auto old grandma lady. You guys seen that YouTube video?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
so
that's what I'm
funny.
saying. Like,
Absolutely.
there's people there's people, especially now, the further and further we get into this century, where the past couple of generations now have grown up with video games. The older you get, people are still, and these people have no clue that there's people out there that are fully functioning adults integrating into society. They have jobs, they have families, they have houses, they have responsibilities,
that's
but
the
they
funny
still
thing.
find time to play a little bit
I
of
know
video
plenty of 30, 40-year-old guys that play like Madden every day.
I mean, I want to say
So-
I'm not going to say the name of the company I work for because
That would be
some of
foolish.
the listeners would recognize it or be able to research it. But I work for a software company, and the vast majority of everybody else who works there they're all in very high functioning positions. They all play video games.
Mhm.
All of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like these people are so short-sighted. They just they want to they want to be the little tyrants. They want to. We don't approve of this, so it must be taken away or made harder to obtain for everybody. because they
and-
don't.
If we
And
could
Jared-
just
and
save
Jared,
video games from warping one child's mind.
If it could just
And
save
Jared-
one mind.
Let's ban it from. We gotta ban it. Nobody can play video games because if we just save one child's mind, then that will be justified.
That would be just. Yeah, Jared, you were saying, like if if you play 1 hour a day at video games, somebody does something else for an hour a day. What is the fundamental difference, right? It's just a hobby. And the way I look at it is it's like a moral, snobby self-righteousness. Like my hobby is better than your hobby.
Yeah, it's just a
Therefore,
subjective
should
preference.
your hobby should be restricted, right? Because it's bad. it's so
Oh,
twisted.
that's essentially creating a syntax type deal. We don't like, we don't like this, so you must not be able to have it, or it must be harder for you to get, because we don't like your habit, we don't like your vice.
Yeah, no, it's an attempt to paint something which is a subjective preference in an objective light. Like, so your subjective preference for video games objectively always leads to violence. Therefore, state regulation would be justified.
Mm-hmm.
I would never tell my mother what video games I wanted her to buy when we were kids, because we always wanted, like, the South Park game or the Simpsons game or the James Bond game, the one with the shooting, because she didn't like that, or the wrestling when she hated wrestling, and we all watched wrestling. Like, wrestling, me and my brother, that was our thing. And
You keep saying was.
it still is one of my
I was
things.
gonna say, anybody else picking up on that? It's not was. Dave still watches wrestling.
I love wrestling. It's one of my favorites, man.
I just like picking on him for that.
Hey, man, everybody's got their thing. I don't,
Dude,
you play Assassin's. You were talking about playing Assassin's Creed, and I was
yeah,
like,
like I said, I'm not. That's why.
I said I'm not one for button mashers, but hey, everyone's got their
Well,
thing.
exactly. I'm just picking on you, man. I have my own silly vice. I have my own silly vices. I'm just picking on you.
I also watch anime too. Ooh, and I'm a redneck, man. I'm like a weird dude.
I
Yes,
think,
I think that's a very accurate description of
It's
Dave.
like the
A weird
only
dude.
person, the only person in Alabama who watches anime.
No, that's false. That's way false. There's a ton of them, dude.
I haven't
I think
been able to get
Jeremy,
into that. I don't know.
Jeremy, did you say on the on one of your Freedom Fiends episodes that, or maybe it was Lou that said wrestling and politics are the same, except in wrestling they admit it's fake, right?
Yeah.
No, I
Oh,
think
yeah, it
there's
was
more
fake.
improv in wrestling, and I think there's a greater risk. I think they mess up sometimes and actually get hurt.
Of course they do.
Yeah, I've worked with a chiropractor, almost 300 pounds wrestler, and some if you talk to a wrestler and say it's like isn't it fake what you do, they get really angry. like they like pick you up. Like these are strong people.
Dude, the next time you get a chance, okay? Your floor's about as soft as the thing they land on if you got carpet. I mean, it has a little bit of give, but just from your feet, just fall back. Don't stop yourself. Just boom, fall flat on your back. Fucking hurts. Now, could you imagine doing that from like 12 foot? There's no way. My brain would be so damn rattled, I would probably go and get concussed and be in a coma.
I was a wrestling fan for a long time, and then I got into that mindset where it's all fake, and I had to backtrack on that because it's not. You're absolutely right. Those guys.
It's like
especially
people
in the
that get comic book every week. They know that's fake. The people that go to watch Batman in droves, they don't. But you say I like wrestling, and
Not
people
fake,
go,
no, I'm
"Oh,
saying-
wrestling's fake." It's like, well, no shit. So is
Dude,
Batman.
nobody has ever watched Undertaker fight Mankind in a Hell in a Cell and be like, "Wow, that's just bullshit." That didn't
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah.
Like,
Or watch, or watch like Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker at WrestleMania. That's like a 20-minute match. Those guys are 40,
Or
50
just
years
the
old,
fact
and they're
that-
still kicking it.
Shit happens. What's his name? Owen Hart falling from the
Yep.
ceiling. and
Well, that was
dying.
stupid.
Well, no. That's what I said. I had to walk back my position on that because it's not. They're athletes.
They don't say fake as in
and
like the
it's not
damage
fake.
they're
It's not-
taking. They're saying fake as in it's scripted.
No, it's
and
scripted.
yeah,
No,
it's scripted.
exactly.
So is Walking Dead.
No, I agree with you. I'm not.
Yeah.
I like to pick on you for it, just to bust your chops. But I agree with you on that. It's not fake. It's scripted, and people who just automatically blanket say it's fake are being they're being disingenuous by saying so, because it's not. Because these guys are athletes. They work their tails off to get in. Whether they're using steroids or not or whatever. Like these guys are in great shape, and they put their bodies through. Yes, is there way? Like I've known guys who've done it, and they've shown me some of the moves. And yes, are there ways to lessen the impact of certain things? Absolutely, because they're not trying to kill each other. They're trying to put on a show.
I had a vertical suplex on my brother into a pool about 1.5 years ago, and that hurt so bad.
Come on, man. Onto water, of course.
That hurt
that would hurt
so bad. I wanted to I was like, could you imagine this on a mat? I would die.
Straight back flop into the pool, and it hurt so bad. Wrestling though.
Oh, my back's hurting thinking about it.
I've speared people like who is it? Goldberg used to do, and then what was the move he did after that? What was that thing?
The jackhammer.
Yeah, I've jackhammered people before, and you have to be really careful, man, because you can seriously mess people up.
Yeah, you sure can. Absolutely. I about killed my brother power bombing him one time.
We're all gonna read about Dave one day.
So anyway, first, we've gone from this type of thing doesn't cause violence to Dave power bombed his brother.
Well, this was wrestling and monkey see, monkey do, you know.
So, yeah, but if you listen,
that just nullifies our whole point.
I was like 8, man.
Everything we just said.
I didn't pick up a machine gun and go fucking shoot up at a laboratory full of scientists. Okay?
I'm not a wrestler, but I power bombed.
I mean, I also wrestled in school. My brothers are. I mean, we used to wrestle all day.
I mean, I think the important point too is violence is something that's not consensual, right? So you could use force with each other, and my definition of violence is more in line with like a violation. You know what I mean? It's the initiation of force. You wouldn't say that somebody's defending themselves acting violently. I feel like this whole thing where people say that, you know, like mixed martial arts or wrestling or sports in general are violent, it's kind of like a social justice warrior pussy cop-out, you know what I mean? It's not violence. Violence is when someone assaults somebody else. That's violence. You wouldn't say that somebody who is defending themselves from assault is being violent unless you went to public school and, you know, get suspended for defending yourself from assault. Fighting.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. If in high school, if you even fight back, you get expelled now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
no,
like if somebody just walks up and rails you in the face, if you even like push them away, you get suspended, or not suspended, but expelled.
Well,
I'm gonna be 29 this year. It was like that even as early as when I was like 6 or 7 years old in school. I got picked on.
It wasn't like that in Alabama until I was like 11th grade.
Yeah, but that's like
because I remember full-on fights, and the teachers would be like, "Break it up."
Yeah, well,
and nothing else would happen.
Wow.
So
I had things happen. I mean, I hit a kid over the head with a book bag and full of books in fourth grade.
Some kid walked by and hit me in the nuts one day, and I ran into the class and just grabbed one of those desk chair combos and just flung it at him. And the teacher was teaching in class during this, like. I don't know what happened. Like blind rage took over. I slung it at him. It hit him in like the back of the neck and the back, and he like fell on the floor. And the teacher was like, "Get the hell out of here!" And I was like, "He hit me in the nuts," for the record. And I turned around and walked out. My whole class, the whole class laughed. The whole class laughed. The guy was like, he was like, and I almost got in trouble for it. And I was like, I got called to the office. I was like, he walked by and hit me in the nuts. I'm sorry, I lost. You know, and they were like, okay. He got suspended for a day, and I got nothing.
Well, yeah, but the culture has been changing for a while.
Like 3 or 4 times. Like I said, I'm almost 29, and so I was.
No, you're right. It wasn't. It's different.
It's when the shit was happening.
Yeah, it's up here on the East Coast. It was a lot more progressive in that regard, where this stuff was happening earlier. But I was going to say the whole idea in general. It's just an extension of the whole. Zero tolerance policies that go on around that are going.
Zero tolerance is too arbitrary, in my opinion.
Well, it's
and that's what leads to this perception that self-defense is violence. It's not. It's self-defense. Violence is aggression.
Well, if it's self-defense, if self-defense is bad, what are the police doing to help you? They're
different.
They're
different. Well, that's the idea. I would say that's the idea. The idea is to confuse the two, confuse aggressive violence versus self-defense. The idea is to confuse those two, so people are are conditioned to believe that being a pacifist is the moral high ground, and that only exactly. But that is part of the condition.
Right. You know,
That
you're
is part of the
absolutely right.
indoctrination. And
I'll
that
tell you
is-
this
and that
much.
is why the police and the military are different. That is what they are taught. That is what everybody is taught. That is what it is slowly beaten into everybody's head.
That's the only reason anybody ever
reacting
mentions
badly.
body in school.
Yes, reacting is bad. Basically they want you to adopt they want to cherry pick a part of the Bible where the turn the other cheek stuff.
That's why.
And
My
let the
show wasn't like that in my high
Malcolm
school.
X is bad. That type of thing.
Yeah, let the good guys with the guns handle all the other stuff, because protecting themselves is completely self-defense, even if they're trying to harass.
I don't think I've been in a fight since high school.
Or kill somebody for violating some arbitrary edict.
So it's that
is still
political correctness
self-defense.
thing. It's
Exactly.
newspeak. It's just literally reversing the correct definitions of terms so that those terms are used in the exact opposite manner of what they're supposed to be.
Absolutely. I have said
That's
this
why
before on the
capitalism has
show.
been
We've
demonized
talked
so
about
bad.
this. We've talked about this before, where we actually we started to get into political correctness itself. The fact that was the whole goal of it originally. The whole idea behind political correctness was to get people to think differently, and that is what it has continued to morph into, where it's changing the perceptions of words so people look at it differently, and then they can point to the people that are being precise in their language and use.
I'm not the first person to say this, but what you're describing, Jeremy, it's cry bullying. Political correctness is cry bullying.
Yes.
It's you're hurting my feelings, so I'm going to use the state to initiate force against you.
Well,
that's cry bullying.
Yes, that is what the masses use it for. That is what the social justice warriors use it for.
I mean, that's why spitting in front of a lady in Georgia is illegal. I mean, some asshole had power.
Yeah, but the underlying tone of political correctness itself, it was born from the state. Political correctness originated in the Soviet Union in the original battles before the Bolshevik Revolution between the communists and the socialists. That's where it originated. That's where the idea of it originated from, and it morphed when it came over here to the States with the new left, and it became this force to be used by the social justice warriors, unwittingly realizing that they were doing the bidding of the political masters, essentially, because they want to shape the narrative.
Which is why
I call SJWs useful idiots.
Yeah, I mean, and I say leftists are stupid, and I say that, and people have given me shit about being mean about it, and that in itself is trying to make me be politically correct. I understand that it's impolite to call someone stupid, right? But the philosophy of a leftist is inherently self-contradicting. They say that property is theft, so owning yourself is theft, right? Starting from there, that's fucking retarded. They'll say, I don't own myself. Okay, so who control? I don't own myself. I just control myself, or I don't own myself. I just move my body, or like whatever sophism they have for it. It's fundamentally just a cop out and a reversal of terms, right? So if you don't own yourself, or if you don't control yourself, who does? If you don't have a higher claim to your body or the effects of your actions, or the highest claim, who does? Because somebody does. Somebody does. You don't exist.
Somebody or something, yeah.
And what I think all of it is, it reveals the extent to which they have nihilist or solipsist type mind states where they think they're just these brains in a jar, and it's insulting. It's like they're saying that. It's like everybody they're talking to is a character in their dream. You know what I mean? Words mean whatever I want. How do I know that you're really real? Because
everyone deserves free healthcare. How are we going to pay for it? I don't know. Figure it out. Everyone just needs free healthcare.
So, Jared, you know exactly what you say when people talk like that, and I try to nail them down to a definition. I go to the dictionary from like Merriam-Webster's dictionary, and I say, this is what socialism is. This is what private property is. This is what capitalism is. And they're like, why do you go to the dictionary? There's That's a horrible.
Hys-
That's a horrible
hysterical.
source of information.
Why do we
I'm
have to
like-
agree to definitions? And we get to this.
So we don't
these
get into
arguments-
circular logic. That's
No,
why.
exactly. And you get into these arguments with leftists where they say that, fuck, dude, property is theft. So, defending yourself is assault. Property is theft. Murder is self-defense, as far as the state goes. Complete reversal of terms. And we have the one thing that nobody wants to define ever, going back to it, is violence, which is why we have these edicts that only like Jeremy was saying, only pacifism is the moral high ground, except if you're the military or the cops.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it is. Although, you know, I think as far as like the leftists go, I mean, yeah, they definitely, I don't know, a lot of them are horribly confused.
I think
They
it's a
just
waste of
repeat
time.
what fucking they just heard.
Well, see,
It's a waste of time to try to convince them of anything. So if anytime I get into a genuine debate with a leftist, because I know leftists that I've been debating for 10 years that haven't conceded anything, not one fucking thing, and the only value I get out of it is from people who are witnessing the interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say that I think. I mean, you said it, like, why do we have to define terms? Well, this is why, because if they're trying to make they try to make that distinction that they don't own themselves, they only control themselves. Well, I mean, absolutely. If they take that position, then following what the position that people like us come from, then that is the logical conclusion that you can't possibly then everything is justified because you don't own yourself.
I mean, you take it a step further. It's inherently the words themselves. It's a contradiction in terms. I don't own myself. My denotes ownership.
Mm-hmm.
It's logically invalid to make that claim.
Exactly.
To me, ownership is more about responsibility. It's like whatever I do with my body, I'm responsible because I own myself.
I phrase that
so
as owning the effects of your actions, right?
Right.
Yes.
That's what responsibility is.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I was trying to get at. That they, if they would just, I guess, recognize that we're actually when they try to say that in order to try to act like it's contradictory to what we're saying, it's not, because we are saying that we are, aren't we? I mean, you guys both just said it. Part of that ownership that we claim is based on control of being able to do things. So when they say things like, I don't own myself, I only control myself. Okay, we're still in agreement here. What's the problem?
I don't like the way you said it. I agree with everything you said.
trying-
You know, I agree with everything you said, but I just don't like the way you said it.
That's what it boils down to. It's like we're still in agreement, but you're trying to
I
throw
think
things
there's-
off from the start. Which
I think there's more effective ways to present your message.
yeah, and it comes.
Yeah, for sure.
I immediately go to that Ayn Rand quote about, you know, if there are no contradictions, if you find one, check your premises because one of them is wrong. You're starting off with a faulty premise. You're thinking we're disagreeing and we're not, but you're
Dude,
just
that's
so
Aristotle. It's law of non-contradiction. Come on. You got two things that contradict each other. You need to go back and fucking reevaluate one of those things or both of them. Figure out which one's wrong.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying. They don't want to recognize that because they want to differentiate and then the words and then say that it's our problem. We're the ones who have a problem with language.
Man. That's just your
Exactly.
opinion, man.
Right,
Logic
right.
is just an opinion. Fucking A.
Okay, I
Yeah,
actually did see somebody
economics
say
is
that
a
the other
white
day.
man's creation.
Morality is subjective.
Yeah, white man conspiracy. It's just a rich people conspiracy. Economics, like logic. Somebody just
Logic
made
was
that
created by white people.
Yes, it was just
I got told that
whiteys.
once.
We're so we all have, I think.
I think Jared might be the closest to being white in here.
I'm
Whitest
pretty
person,
darn.
dude.
You're Italian.
You're a pasty boy yourself, there, Dave. What are you talking about?
I got Greek and Indian in me, so I don't know.
Yeah. So.
And
yeah,
Danilo's just he's not even in the
What,
game.
from the Pale Horse tribe? What kind of Indian you got in you, boy? What are you talking about?
Creek. Creek.
Whitest Indian I've ever seen. Anyway.
When I get a really good tan, you can see it for sure.
Dan, you're burned.
But yeah, we drifted away from the I don't know how we ended up here, but yeah, it's the whole thing is, like I said, they like, I run into this in my personal life a lot when it's not even related to politics, but it's the whole idea of the opposing party having it already made up in their mind that whatever you could possibly say they're going to disagree with, that they start off with the premise that they have to say no to you, even though they're actually agreeing with you. But they have that mindset that it has to be, well, no, you're on the other side.
Well, that's cognitive dissonance.
Yes, but that's what it boils down to.
Making, like, they're also dedicated to trying to make historical arguments in every single situation, even when logic is a more appropriate epistemological approach. And they're also trying to do a guilt by association fallacy in most cases too. So you'll debate a leftist or somebody who is maybe anarchist without a set denomination, and they'll start trying to drag. You'll say, this is my, you can say, this is my opinion. I believe property is theft. And they'll say, well, somebody at this point in time also said that, therefore you're wrong. And I disagree with you. Okay, but you didn't disprove the logic of what I said. You made a historical argument about who was the first person that said that and then attacked their character. That's not an argument. That's an association, guilt by association fallacy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like the guy in the group.
Attack at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, how the fuck does the details of this person's personal life have anything to do with my argument at all? Just because I said the same thing as him. That's why you have people trying to drag like Walter Block into arguments. You have people trying to drag like Stefan Molyneux into arguments just because you say morality is objective. You know what I mean? It's fundamentally a straw man argument. Well, this person said that, so it's wrong. That's what?
Mm-hmm.
Your claim in this case is that everything that person says is wrong, and you really expect me to believe that? Even if 99% of what they say is wrong, they have to at least know how to fucking read and put their fucking clothes on in the morning. So they gotta. I mean, there's something that they say and they know is right. So clearly, this line of reasoning is completely invalid.
It was like that sophist that got in the. Oh, sorry. You go ahead.
No, I was gonna say. So Jared, you said like, when they say let's agree to disagree, you have your opinion. I have my opinion. It's like just because you practice bad math, that's not a new like variant of mathematics.
No, yeah.
You're just wrong.
No, you suck at math, bro. You suck at math. Fuck you. I showed you how to do it 3 fucking times, and you still insist that the answer to 2 + 2 is 5. I've given you charts. I've given you models. I've given you everything. So if you want to agree to disagree, you're telling me to agree to disagree. Fuck you.
It's like, I don't want to aggress against you. You want to aggress against me. I can't agree to disagree here. Sorry.
Not all opinions are valid.
Let me hit you. Let me steal from you.
I hate
Just
that.
accept it. Let's agree to disagree. Fuck you. No.
Not all opinions are valid. People do not like to hear that, but it is the absolute truth, and it's usually the end result of every argument I get into when people finally fall back on that. And I say that to them, and they get mad at me. It's like, I'm sorry. Not all opinions are valid. And for the most part, I'm not using opinions. I'm using logic. There's no opinions involved.
We see that in the Facebook group, don't we? People will say all perspectives are valid. No, they're not. Even that is logically self-contradicting. You're saying that all perspectives are valid, so my perspective in which I reject other perspectives is valid, right?
Yeah, I think what they think is logic is a subjective preference. Like what flavor ice cream do you like, or what type of clothes do you like? That's not logical. That's a subjective preference. That's there's no right answer to what's the nice clothes.
There is a subjective preference for the use of logic. Some people prefer logic, other people's don't. I would argue that manipulators don't prefer logic.
Right.
Well, it was like the guy that got in the group the other day and responded to one of my memes and was like, saying that he was trying to collectivize me, and he was like, well, I'm an anarchist and I think every problem is because of the government, and if it were gone we would all be better off. I said, where did you come to that conclusion? And then he said something. I said, I need you to stop collectivizing me. I speak on my behalf.
What, he was like mocking you?
Yeah. And I was like, what why are you lumping me in and calling me like, why are you saying like anarchists all have the same approach? Like, I very rarely find any anarchists that agree on
That's funny when
approaching the
people
same
mock me.
thing.
That's funny when people mock me. I usually get, well, you
Anarchist
think
is
everybody
a-
will be an angel. In your perfect little anarchist world.
Yeah,
No.
but
How are
that's straight up sophistry, and whether they recognize it or not, because I mean, like Jared said about people having a subjective preference for it. Absolutely, because most people I come in contact with, they don't understand logic. We've talked about it before. I didn't understand it before I started on this path. I thought I did, but there's certain things that everything really, a lot of this stuff really does become self-evident once you understand logic, because you can just dissect every situation and go, okay, well, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't actually follow, but this is what I've been taught to believe my whole life. So okay, that's wrong. But the actual manipulators, they absolutely are doing that willingly. They are engaging in sophistry. When they mock you by saying stuff, or mock any of us by saying stuff like that, the utopian line. I just automatically respond with stop enough with the sophistry. It's like as soon as you say that, your entire whatever else you have to say after that can be discounted until you correct that mistake, because you're starting off with a faulty premise. That's not the idea. But people just want to, like I said, and most people aren't manipulators, I don't think, by design. I think they're the useful idiots. They just follow behind in what they're taught, and what their leaders, the actual manipulators who do this type of stuff, who engage in this purposeful sophistry.
Well, a lot of it goes back to public schools too. Telling everybody that they're special, telling everybody that all opinions matter, giving everybody a trophy just for participating. It's all that shit. All that shit goes into that shit. So people of low ability, people with low IQ, stupid people, and not to be mean, objectively speaking, or comparing you to the rest of humanity, stupid people are led to believe that they're as smart as everybody else, and they're not. I think that's cruel to them. I think it's cruel to everybody else, and it's what enables this. What would you call it? A ineptocracy, where the stupidest people among us decide for everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely the blind leading the blind for most of America, for most of people that are involved in politics. I mean, have you ever met a politician? They're skeezy and they're terrible.
Yeah, I have. No, not. I mean, I shouldn't say that, because not all of them are. Some of the local guys are,
Wait until they're in there for a few years.
Again, anybody who stays in any place, but the whole that I think, I don't remember if we were actually if we were recording or not when we talked about that. But the whole idea of people, they get in with good intentions, and then eventually they get the whole idea about anarchists and so-called libertarians who run for office based on their thought process that they can possibly stop one program, but they still end up playing the game for the rest of the stuff. That's how it happens. Even people like that, you end up getting corrupted, because in order to stay there, you have to play the game to some capacity.
Or the establishment's not going to back you, and you're going to lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no way to undo the problems of Keynesianism without making hard fiscal policy decisions, for which whoever makes those decisions is going to get entirely blamed.
Yep.
So in the immediate outcome of ripping off a Band-Aid is going to be pain. And I mean, people blame Obama for the economy being bad now, when really he inherited the problem. So say if you were to vote somebody who is fiscally responsible, say if you voted in like an Austrian economist, if you voted in even Donald Trump, for that matter, where people perceive him as being a capitalist despite the fact that he's more of a cronyist, if one of those people enacts a policy that pops that bubble that was created through Keynesian policies, like manipulation of the interest rates, like just unlimited counterfeiting, whoever pops that bubble is going to get blamed for the entire thing.
Of course.
You know
Because
what I mean? So
Sure.
To that extent, there's no solution out of this. If you think about like incrementalism, minarchism aside, incrementalism, the idea that you could vote the state away, there's nobody who would willingly take that risk knowingly, where they would put themselves in that position to be the one to blame for all of that. It just won't happen. It's not going to happen. And if they did, it would be somebody like Donald Trump, who's an actor anyway.
Yeah.
They're all actors.
Well, for sure.
To a certain extent, yeah. But well,
He's
yeah.
like he's a skilled actor. Like he's way better.
When
actor
we went
than
down to
maybe-
the Trump rally, we asked a few questions of people there. I'm going to upload the content and get it to Jeremy pretty soon. I think tomorrow, so he can put it all together. It is. You're to be surprised. We had a bunch of people. We'd ask them the questions. They would answer, and then they'd walk about 40 foot. You would see them stop, and then they would turn around. They would start walking to us, and then we'd be talking to somebody else, and then they'd be like, "Hey, do y'all have like a business card or like a website or anything? Because your questions were ridiculous, and I've never heard anything like that." And I'm like, "Yeah." It's a pretty. We asked. Well, I can't remember the questions off the top of the head, but the best one was, would you be willing to volunteer for a illegal deportation squad to help round up any illegals in the area and take them to deportation sites for no pay? And about half of them said yes. Like, I'm a vet. I'm supposed to protect the United States. I'll do that. So I was like, you really would do that? Like, most people were like, "Oh God, no!" And then like the last question was pretty. It was at what percent taxation is it not slavery? And a lot of people were like, "Well, that one really messed a lot of people up."
Well, yeah, because they don't think this way. But I mean, back to what Jared was saying about the you can't fix this. I mean, yeah, it's true, and that's the thing. So many people, even the ones who still have that belief that government is necessary, but are more inclined towards, I guess, freedom-ish, liberty-ish type stuff, who recognize the actual problems, like the minarchists, like the the big L libertarians.
They're more reachable than the leftists are.
Well, just yeah, absolutely. But even some of some people who are conservatives, but I think don't realize how far libertarian they actually lean. Like, even those people most of them are petrified of the Band-Aid idea of just ripping it off. So they will try to justify anything possible for incrementalism.
Well, they don't want to get blamed for it.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. It's not, somebody's, I don't know.
Like, to that extent, the Band-Aid thing is the only solution. So the degree to which you acquiesce to statism through incrementalism is the degree to which you enable it. I mean, it's never gonna.
Absolutely.
No, I know you don't disagree. I mean, I don't think it's ever gonna work, man. I'm not gonna initiate force against anybody to stop them from voting. And that's kind of fucking weird. But I have to seriously question whether if you enjoy it and you think that you can get something out of it, and you can prove that you get something out of it, fine, man. But I would really have to question the likelihood that it would even result in its intended effect.
Oh yeah, like I asked people the other day. I asked the people on the podcast I was on the other day. I was like, "Would you rather have 10% of the population go out and vote, or 90%, and the result is still the same?"
Well, they say it's going to get worse if we don't vote. I mean, look at shit like Obamacare. Obamacare fucking radicalized half the country against the fucking government. So let them keep passing more draconian laws. The more ridiculous it gets, the more likelihood that the higher the likelihood that people are going to fucking resist.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
I mean, and when even conservative right-wing, like die-hard statists are saying that the government is inching towards open rebellion, something's up.
Yeah, but I don't know. Some of those people, it's the whole that's like the same mentality. If we don't stop this now, we're gonna be in a police state. Where the hell have you been? We're not going towards that. We're in it.
Oh yeah, it's been a police state since inception.
I've made this argument before. The whole idea of the swifter destruction through the allowing the horrible policies to go through. I'm hesitant to say that will actually be successful because it's the whole pot, it's the frog in the pot. It's been going on for so long, and that they've been able to push the boundaries of what people like ourselves, at least, I mean, I'll speak for myself, like now knowing what I know now and looking back at previous situations in my lifetime alone, and looking at it through a new lens and going, well, crap, if I had known what I know now, then I would have seen this. But it's like so many people just, they don't even, the more egregious acts get floated out there, and when they get accepted, it's just like, okay, good, we got away with that one. Sit back, wait a little while, and then people
Like,
become less and less recognized. It becomes
the
less and less
NSA, like
recognizable.
Snowden. Hey, they're fucking looking at every single piece of correspondence. They
Yes.
have it. Every single piece of correspondence. Just show the fuck quiet. I don't got anything to hide. Like, dude,
Yeah. How
really?
did that not?
Really,
Yeah,
that's
how did that
1984,
not?
dude. Have you ever read 1984? The fucking the TVs on the fucking wall that go both ways. That's literally what they built. It's holy shit.
No,
Yeah.
no,
I mean,
it's,
don't-
it's
I'm
not.
not
It's
saying that
worse.
I'm like-
It's worse than 1984, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Oh yeah, the government goes into like Samsung and goes, hey, how would you like a huge defense department budget for your corporation? Yeah. So, I mean, then it's like, all right, well, make it to where we can spy on people through their smart TVs. And then it's just like, are you kidding me? Make sure we can get metadata from smart TVs, what people are watching, when they're watching, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have shit like the, I mean, your PlayStation's hooked up, or even you leave this shit sitting dormant. The degree to which Snowden confirmed like the craziest assumptions of like all conspiracy theorists, they can use radio waves to access data from a device that is not connected to the internet.
Yep.
Let that fucking sink in. So that I mean, obviously we're talking to each other on webcams, and I have a cell phone that has 2 cameras built into it, but
Yep.
it's a
Which
it's
every app
it's
seems to need access to for some reason.
yeah, it's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
If you guys are like presenting content, but it's totalitarian. It's scary. People should be alarmed by that.
But yeah, that's the point. That's the point I was trying to make. Like how that did
But
not.
it's all for our
drop.
safety, though, isn't it?
That's the whole frog in the pot thing. People have been led to believe that did Snowden's revelations.
Here's the thing: is there's multiple types of encryption, and the market is a thing. So the degree to which the government exploits privacy through backdoors to encryption and spying on people is the degree to which they're going to create market incentives for people to create stronger and different types of encryption, which is how we ended up with stuff like Bitcoin now and the blockchain.
I just want to say what I said was people. I have so many friends. I'm like, hey, the NSA can hear everything you say until you put Telegram on there, and even then they might be able to see it. But the thing is, it'll be warrantless, and they won't be able to use it in court. It'll just give them the excuse to start investigating you. But still, if you get on Telegram, you're significantly hampering their spying on you. And they're like, I don't care. I don't say anything anyways. I'm like, how could you not care? You're like sending nudie pics to your boyfriend. Like, why would you not care?
When people tell me like I have nothing to hide, so what am I scared of? Like so when you go home and you change, do you close your blinds? Do you do that with an open door?
No, I always ask them what's the password to your email after that.
What do you have to hide?
Oh, no. I'm not giving you the password to my email.
Well,
It's like, well, obviously you're worried about some eyes seeing it, right?
yeah, but
Yeah.
that's,
No,
You think
give me a
everyone
password.
working at the NSA is an angel? They're not just bored all day like, oh, look at this hot bitch sending videos all day.
yeah, but everybody's been desensitized to it, and that was my point. That
you're right.
so many people, like I was saying, like yes, did it wake a certain population of the people up to be like, hey, wait a minute,
Not enough to
maybe
justify it.
maybe those crazy people weren't so crazy. Yes, it did, but to the extent that it probably should have, hell no. There are still way too many people
Plus,
who took that
all that
hard
information-
life stance.
It
All it needs to
already out
happen-
there. All that information was already out there ahead of time with William Beanie. He released all that information and much more. Much more. He was talking about how they were
All-
using the data to model predictive, they were modeling predictions of people's behavior based on the data. That's not something I think Snowden went in depth on, unless I'm wrong.
All an NSA agent needs to do if they want to go rogue, right? And if you hear this NSA agent, like, give me some props of some sort, at least plug the website. I'm kidding, don't do that. I don't want to die. But if you're at the NSA, find one of these congressmen's fucking dick pics and then release it over encryption and put it out there for the world and be like, this is Senator blah blah blah.
That's not the real purpose of the NSA. You think that's why they don't?
Obviously, but what I'm saying is you do that, and then that congressman goes, well, my dick just got out there, so this can't fucking happen anymore. So we got to stop this shit.
No, I think that shit probably does happen. That's how they leverage them, dude. That's how they make them vote the way they want to.
We had a congressman here who ended up losing his seat because of the dick pic, and then he still almost got a chance to got reelected again because he was willing to play the game.
Yeah, but we're talking about these conservative Christians that are pushing the Patriot Act and all that. If Ted Cruz's cock got put out on CNN or whatever, his campaign would be over, and he would be acting to repeal that thing that let that happen.
No, because anybody who's on the side of the establishment, whether they're new to the establishment or been there for a while, anybody like that will just be able to. They'll leverage them just to get other votes, and it won't actually hit public consumption. I think what Jared's saying was right, that part of the reason that was used for is just to have leverage over people, whether it be the public at large or whether it be the bureaucrats or whether it be the politicians who don't exactly play ball all the time.
They could step in on any individual and anytime they want and be like, well, we got all this shit that we could spin in any fucking way we want, even if it's not true, and make you embarrassed and fucking ruin your life and
say hackers released it.
Wasn't there right after one of the first or second revelations by Snowden a thing about one of the congressional rooms being bugged that I recall, and a bunch of the Democrats getting up and saying, well, we can't have this, you can't spy on us here, basically, which aside from being the do as I say, not as I do attitude, it's also what actually changed in there? Nothing. It didn't actually change. They were just protected. So it's like I said, I don't think they would be able to use that to influence people to work against it. They will use it to influence it, to make them to strengthen the position. Not, I think that would be more of its intended purpose.
So let's wrap this up. Let's go. What's your favorite video game, Jared? Of all time.
My favorite video game?
Smooth
Dave,
transition.
King of the segues.
Let's go segue back to video games and close it up.
My favorite video game is the entire Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy series. Both of them.
Okay.
All those games.
All right. So you can't single it down to a solo.
No, I think that would be a crime.
My favorite video game is probably either League of Legends or Counter-Strike. Probably Counter-Strike. I've been playing for most of my life, more than I haven't been playing.
Well, I would have to go with the one we discussed earlier that I just actually finished replaying for probably the 10th time in my life, Final Fantasy VII, which to me is still one of the greatest games of all time.
Yeah, that is probably.
Are you excited about the remake?
I played it. Well, I honestly haven't paid attention to that stuff. I just remember when it first came out because that was my first go around in college when that came out originally. It was revolutionary at the time, and I almost failed out of school because
they rebelled against the government.
Yes. Avalanche
Have you played BioShock?
I never have, but that is an excellent point, Jared. Avalanche is an excellent inspiration for rebellion.
What's your favorite, Danilo? Do you have a favorite?
Street Fighter 2 for Sega Super Nintendo, and then Street Fighter 4 for PS3.
Cool,
I'm a Street Fighter guy.
yeah, I am too, man. I've got one of those.
I love those games.
Pads. I got one of the pads that has like an arcade stick.
Just so we don't get shit, to be fair with Final Fantasy VII and Avalanche, those guys, given that they're blowing up nuclear reactors or the equivalent of, they're kind kind of they fall along the line of ANCOM / ANPRIMs who want to return to nature and destroy all technology. That's not really what we're going for, but I think
You're
No,
absolutely right.
in 20 years, I want one solar panel to be powering my entire home.
They
And the other
definitely
cool
did not
thing
abide by
about-
the nap.
The other cool thing about Final Fantasy VII is there was a false flag in it that got blamed on them.
Yep.
Which teach us all the lesson of don't be an ANCOM who incites violence, because then bad shit will get blamed on it.
Look at that. We just found the perfect moral to that story. 10 times of playing that game, never realized that. Excellent. now we just may go sink another couple hundred hours into it and play it again.
Cheer me. Well, Danilo, do you want to take us out, bud?
Yeah. All right. Well, Jerry, thanks a lot for coming on.
Thanks for having
Last
me
minute thing,
again,
but
guys.
awesome conversation.
pleasure.
Video games. I don't know if anyone ever did a podcast on video games, but we might just be the first.
Oh, no.
So very cool. Anybody wants to say again?
I said people have, but this was
Oh,
fun.
people have?
Yeah, people have done it, but it's okay. I think we
haven't
had a
heard
rousing
of it.
discussion that went all over the place, and
No. All right, well, very cool. If anybody wants to help support us, check in the links below, Bitcoin or Patreon. It's patreon.com/Seeds of Liberty. Seeds of Liberty, right? Or Seeds of Liberty Podcast.
No, just
One of
Seeds of
them.
Liberty.
Seeds of Liberty. All right, check the links. Please support us. We love doing this. We want to keep doing it. And monetary support is always a wonderful encouragement. So thank you very much for a wonderful conversation. It's the Seeds of Liberty Podcast. Wishing everyone have a wonderful day. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.